Hi guys, welcome back again in this session. Today I will solve a question I give to my students in their test on object-oriented programming and stack. So let's solve this question. So a source file, what data.txt will be required. A computer program manages a stack of words using object-oriented programming. The element class stores the data about the stack. Data is of data type string. It is the word that is stored in the stack. Constructor initializes data to its parameter value. Get data returns the data value. So the question states, write the program code to declare the class element and its constructor. So the program code is only required to be written just to declare the element class and its constructor. Do not declare other methods. So just the class and the constructor is required. Use appropriate constructor for your programming language. All attributes must be private and you must declare your attributes if you're writing in Python. So let's solve this problem. Yeah, in solving this, so first and foremost, we need to declare the class, right? So we have to declare the class. And in declaring the class, the keyword class must be written, then the name of the class, which is element. So after the class has been declared, then we also declared its constructor, okay? And the constructor is def double underscore init double underscore, okay, then self. So these are the keywords def double underscore two double underscore, double underscore init double underscore self. So let's take a look. Does it require a parameter? So in the constructor, it says initializes data to its parameter value. That means it requires a parameter data. Okay. So data is the parameter. And this is initialized to its what? To its parameter value in the constructor. So that was we have self dot data is equal to data. Now data has been initialized to its parameter value. And don't forget we are told to declare variables using comment. So that means you declare data as a string. Okay, that's been declared as a string. So that is all. That is all. Now the next question, that is just 2 marks. The get method. Look at this table. Do we have get? Yes, that means this get method, get data, is part of this class. Okay. Now the get method, get data, returns the relevant attributes. So let's go to the table to understand what it returns. So the get data returns the data value. Okay, it returns the data value which was initially initialized in the constructor. Okay, so the question states, write the program code for the get method. So that means the get method is inside of the class according to what you have. If you are not sure, just go back to this table to check if it is part of the class. Is this understood? So we have def get, that is get what? Get data. Then don't forget self, so it can what? It can inherit the parameters in the constructor. Okay, so it returns what? The relevant attribute, which is the data. So don't forget that this must be the parameter must be private. Okay, it must be private. Okay, good. So return self dot self dot data. So I hope this is understood. So question 1A and 1B has been solved. Get data returns the data value. Okay, good. So that's 1A I rather. Now for 1B, The class was stack. So this is another class. So this class is over. This element, class element is over. Now this is another stack, was stack. So we will write that out. Okay, we get out of this class element. So the class word stack is designed to represent the stack of weights, where the stack is implemented as an array of objects of type object. Okay, so the stack is what is represented as an array of objects, and data type of that object is what is elements. Okay, each object stores a weight. Each object stores a weight, and the stack allows the user to push weights onto it or pop weights from it. So you can push weights into the stack or pop weights out of the stack. The user should also be able to input their own data into the stack by pushing weights as needed. So this is the class word stack. Word stack is the class. It has an array of 50 elements. So now also it has another variable, stack top, which is an integer, and this is a top pointer, a pointer to the index of the next free space. So in the stack, the next free space is pointed to by the stack top. Okay, the max size is the maximum size of the stack. Then the constructor initializes the top pointer to 0, the maximum size to 50, declares the array of type elements with space to store 50 objects. Push weight, take an object of type element as a parameter, insert it into the array and update the relevant pointer. The next, get array, returns the stack array. Pop weight, return the data from the array at the top of the stack. Now the question states, write the program code to declare word stack and its constructor. Do not declare other methods. Use appropriate constructor for your programming language. Attributes must be private. If you are writing in Python, include attributes declaration as comment. So in this question, we are only required to declare word stack and its constructor. Okay. Now, in writing that, we must write the keyword class before the name of the class, word stack. Okay. Now, the next is the constructor, isn't it? The class and its constructor. Now, to write the constructor, then we have df double underscore init, then self. So we need to check if it requires a parameter, and how do we know that? Okay, constructor initialize the top pointer to 0, maximum size to 50, declares the array of type element with space to 50. It never states that initialize this to its parameter value. If it has said initialize this, maybe a variable or an identifier to its parameter value, that means the question has required you to pass a parameter. Okay, so since the question does not state that initializes the top pointer to its parameter value, or initializes maximum size to its parameter value, or initializes the array to its parameter value, that means the question is not expecting you to pass a parameter, which is a common mistake, students make. Okay, so in this code, we are not required to pass a parameter. Is this understood? So back to the question. It states initialize the top pointer to 0. Then you write self dot, okay, what is the top pointer? Stack top is equal to 0. Just initialize it to 0, okay? And the next in the constructor initializes maximum size to 50. So that means self dot maximum size is max size is equal to 50. Is this understood? I hope this is understood. Now the next question, the next is declares the array of type elements, declares the array with space to 50 objects. The question does not require you to initialize. It only says declare. So there is a difference between initializing. So this is just declare. So most students will just go ahead to initialize, which is not required by the question. Okay. So we'll just write the name of the array is stack. So declare, sorry, not declare, stuff dot stack is equal to, that is all. So what makes students confused is because of this statement with space to store 50. With space to store 50 does not mean you now initialize each element, you now initialize 50 elements in the array to a null value. No, that is not what that means. That means you declare the what? The lower boundary and the upper boundary, which is not required in Python, which is the reason the question states that you should write the declaration as a comment. So you now write that array of 15 spaces, array of object type elements of 50 spaces. I hope this is understood because the array is of type element of 50 spaces. I hope this is understood. Then the constructor has been declared. This is just 3 marks. Now for the next, the method push word. Is this push word part of the class? Let's go back to the table to check. Yes, push word is part of the class. Then push word will be written in the class push word. Okay, so the method push word takes an element object as a parameter. Takes an element object as a parameter and insert it into the stack. So this will take a parameter and it will take an object as a parameter. So that means that you write this as self so that it can take the attribute of the class, then write anything as what? As the parameter. Anything. You can even write number. You can even write word. Anything. But whatever you write is of type object. So the question, so in this case, you are not required to now write that word is equal to element, you understand, or even pass a parameter into the element. No, this is not required from you. So most students make the mistake because they read that element is of type object. That means they must now write that as what? As an instance of the object. No, that is not required. It is when you are passing this element that you now pass that element as a type of, when you are passing this parameter. So that means you pass this parameter as the type of object element. That means when this function is called, it requires you to pass a parameter. The parameter to pass must be of a type element object. Is that understood? So that does not mean you should now create an instance of element in this function. It is the parameter that will be passed that will be of type element. I hope this is understood. Now, good. So back to the question. The method pushWord takes an element object as a parameter. So the parameter has been passed, okay, and inserts it into the array stack. But before you do that, you can see with first check. That means before it's inserted, push word will first check if the array is full. And if the array is full, that means that top pointer, don't forget that top pointer is what? The top pointer is the variable stack top, and it points to the next free index. There are 50 spaces in the array, which is 0 to 49, isn't it? That will be, okay, it's it was first initialized to 0. So that means it will be 1 to 50. That means if top pointer is 50, what does that imply? That means the array is full. At first, when it points to position 0, it means there is no element in that array for it to have pointed to position 0. I hope this is understood. Because top pointer will point to the next free. So if it is pointing to position 0, let me write this. If this is the array, okay, if this is the array, This is position 0, 1, 2, and so on. Okay, so if top pointer is pointing to position 0, that means this is the next free space. There is nothing here. Is this understood? Now, in this array, if this is 0, then this will be 49, 50 elements, 50 spaces, isn't it? If this pointer is now pointing to 50, that means the array is full. It's no longer pointing to any empty space. It is now full. I hope this is understood. So that implies that the array is full or the stack is full when the top pointer is pointing to the maximum size. I hope this is understood. So to check if the array is full, that implies that you write that if self dot stack top, yes, is equal to 50 or is equal to self dot maximum size. It's still the same thing. Whether you write 50 or maximum size, don't forget maximum size has been initialized to 50. Is this understood? So if it is full, if the stack is full, you first check if it is full. And if it is full, output a message that no more data can be pushed. Then you print stack is full. No more data can be added. I hope this is understood. So else, which means when it is not full. Is this understood? When it is not full. If the stack is not full, push where, that is the function, pushes the object onto the array stack. So that means that we have this as self dot stack, okay, dot append. So you put this object into the array stack, okay, and what is the object? Word. That was passed as a parameter. Don't forget that the parameter is an object. So this is pushed into the stack. Some students are making a mistake by converting this word to an element, by making an instance of this word. That's by making it an object before it is passed. You forgot that the parameter itself is an object, so you don't need to do that. I hope this is understood. So after doing that, then you update the relevant pointer, which is what? Which is a stack, to point to the next what? To the next available space. Then you write that self dot stack top is equal to stack top plus 1. I hope this is understood. Now, is that all? No. So that is all for push word. I hope this is well understood. Now, the next question. The method pop word. Is pop word part of the class? Let's go back to the table to confirm. Yes, pop word is part of the class. So it is part of the class. So we need to write it into the class function. Okay. So the method pop word. So still in the class function, df pop word. Okay. So it can also access the parameter from the class. So the self is very important. So does it require a parameter? Removes and return the data from the array stack. It doesn't require a parameter. Okay, good. Removes and return the data from the array stack at the top of the stack and updates the relevant pointer. If the stack is empty, pop word return no data. Write a program code for pop word. So first, let's check if it is empty, so that nothing will be popped if it is empty. And how will it be empty? It will be empty if the top pointer is pointing to the first element. Okay, so if this is a stack, this is the first piece, and so on to 50. Okay, if the top pointer is pointing to this, that means it is empty because this is the first available space. But if the top pointer is pointing to any of the other spaces, that means it is not empty. Is this understood? So to check if it is empty, we need to check if top pointer is pointing to the what? Is pointing to 0. I hope this is understood. Then we write if self dot stack top is equal to 0. Okay, so if it is empty, it says returns no data. Return, not print. Okay, return no data, not print. Some students were printing. You are not asked to print, but you are asked to return. else, that is if it is not empty. If it is not empty, removes and return the data from the stack at the top of the stack. Okay, so that means if it is not empty, so let's say for example, this top pointer is not pointing to 0, is maybe pointing to 2. If it is pointing to 2, that means that there is a value here. Let's assume 4. There is a value here, but there's no value at 2, because wherever the top pointer is pointing at is a free space. Don't forget. So for us to return, that means we have to return the value before, isn't it? So that means we have to write that stack self dot stack top, okay, is equal to self dot stack top minus 1. What does that mean? That means you make this stack top to be pointing to 1 now. I hope this understood. It was initially pointing at 2, then startup has been reduced by 1, so it can also point to what? To the previous space, which holds the data you want to return. Then save this data into a variable, okay? Then write that is equal to variable is equal to self dot stack at that position, okay? Self dot stack top. Okay, so now this value has now been saved into a variable. Then we can now delete the value at this space, right? Then you use the keyword delete. Okay, delete self dot self dot stack top. Sorry, self dot I want to delete the value, the previous value. Okay, so this will delete the previous value in the array. Okay, so after deleting, then we have updated the pointer when we subtracted 1, isn't it? The value has been deleted, then it is now an empty space. And don't forget, it is now an empty space. The pointer is now pointing to that space. Then also what? Then we return the value. Return var. Is this understood? Okay, good. If you have any question, you can put them in the comment section. So that has been solved. So the value has been returned. So write a program code for pop wait. I hope this is understood. Okay, good. Then the next question, the method get array. Let's take a look at this method. Is it part of this table? Get array, yes, it is part of this table. So that means it can be written in the class, okay? So get array can be written in the class. So def get array. So you also write the keyword self so it can access the attributes in the words in the constructor. Okay. Now def get array. What would this do? Returns the stack array. Just return self dot stack. Just the stack array. That's all. That's one mark. Okay. So write program code for get array, which has been written. Now the next one. The text file word data.txt contains a list of words and each word on a separate line. The function read data. So let's check this table. Is read data part of this function, part of the class? Read data is not in this table. That means read data is not part of this class. So that means read data cannot be written in this class and cannot have this self as a parameter. If read data is part of this class, yes, it can have self as a parameter. So most students will now declare read data and also put self as a parameter. That is wrong. I hope you understand that. That is wrong because it is not part of this class. So it does not require a self as a parameter. Okay. Now, so let's move forward. So it states the text file word data.txt contains a list of words. So this is a text file. with each word on a separate line. Okay. Now, the function read data will create an array of objects of type elements. Read each word from the file. Create an object of type element for each word in the file. Store each object into the array. Use appropriate exception handling if file is not found. Like I said, even if the question does not state this, you have to do that. Return the array. Write program code for what? For read data to perform the operations described. So let's do that again. So def read data. Okay. So don't write solve. It is not part of the class. Now, will this take any parameter according to this question? No. If you read this question again, it does not require a parameter. So some students were passing file name as a parameter. Why are you passing file name as a parameter? When the question does not state it requires a parameter. So please don't do that. Good. So the function will create an array of objects of type elements. So we just write array is equal to, that's all. You don't have to create an instance. Just declare an array. But this array can only store objects of type elements. Is this understood? Good. Now, the next thing is read each word from the file. So let's try to read try with open. With open, the file name is what? Is word data, right? Word data. Let me check the okay, W is capital word data dot txt. Okay, add file. So like I told you in the previous section, when you try to open, the file has been read. So you don't necessarily need to write file.read any longer. Just do your operation on it. It has been opened for read. Okay, it has been opened for reading, and automatically it will read anything you write. Okay, good. Now read each word from the file. So to read each word from the file, we can have a for loop to take each line from the file, each word. So we can write for line in file. I hope this is understood. So this will take each line in the file. Each. This will iterate through each line in the file or each word in the file. Create an object of type elements for each word in the file. And for each of these words, like the question says that each word is written on a separate line. That means there is what? There is a new line character before the next line, isn't it? So you must strip each of the new character before you now create the object file. Because before you create that object file, you must first strip the what? The character. So then write that line is equal to line dot strip. So with this, you have been able to remove what? The new line character. Okay. So after writing this, the next one, you now create an object of type element. Okay. And don't forget, element is what? Is a class that requires what? A parameter to be passed, which is now this line. So you now write that so the first thing you need to object handler, okay? So you can call it, let's say, element, just small letter element. It cannot be capital letter element because when E is capital letter, you are referring to that class. Is this understood? So I'm using the first E as a small letter so that it does not refer to that class. So it's equal to element. So this first element, which is small letter E, is the class. Element of is the object handler rather. This is an object handler. Element of, okay, let me use var so that students don't confuse that. Okay, so var is equal to element of line. So we have been able to create an instance of what? An object element using the line, using the word that is led from that line. So var is now the object handler. Okay, so create an object of type element. So the object has now been created, which the object handler is var. Okay, for each word in the file. And don't forget, for each word, that was why we need to use the for loop. Okay, good. Store each object into the array. Then this var is not an object that will now be stored into the array. That will be array.append var. How this is understood? Array.append var. Okay, good. Use appropriate, return the array. Okay. Now, before, okay, we can also return array from here. Return array. Then after doing that, then we write exception as error. Then you can write print error. That is, this is printed if the file does not exist. I hope this is well understood. So with this, we've been able to read from the file. So this means an array is only returned if the what? If the word is what? If this word text file exists. Is this understood? But if you write return array after this except, what does this mean? Return array after. It means whether the word file opens or not, an array is returned. So if the file does not open, it returns an empty array. If it opens, it returns the array that was read in. Is that understood? But if I comment this out and you only put it here, that means if the file does not exist, nothing is returned. But if it exists, it returns what? An array. Is this understood? So it's better to put it here so that it returns an array whether the file opens or not. I hope this is understood. So if the file opens, it returns the array. If the file does not open, it returns an empty array. So this is well, I hope this is well understood. Now the question is done, and that is just for a takeaway of 6 marks. Just a takeaway. So that should be a bonus, isn't it? Okay, good. Now the function process push. Is process push part of this class? Go to the table. It is not part of this class. It is not part of this class. So you don't pass a parameter self, which many students make this mistake. Okay. So the function process push will take an instance of word class and element object as parameters. That means it will take 2 parameters. Okay. So def process push. 2 things as a parameter. The first, an instance of word stack. This is the first instance. This is the first parameter rather, an instance of word stack. The second parameter is what? An element object. Some students will now pass word stack, then elements. This is what some students does, which is wrong. Why is it wrong? Word stack is a class. You cannot pass a whole class as a parameter. Element is a class. You cannot pass a whole element as a parameter. Is this understood? So what you should pass is maybe the stack, for example, and maybe word again. So that this is the stack. When the question says an instance of, it means an object. An instance of word stack means when you now have an object handler, is this understood? Holding word stack, which will be passed into. Is that understood? So that means this stack will be an instance of word stack, and word stack is this class. And don't forget, when you call a stack, it becomes what? When you call a class, it becomes an object. So it's an object of word stack that will be passed as a parameter, not the class itself. Then the other one, which is an element object, is an object of the class element and not the class. Is this understood? So you just pass two random parameters, just anything. You can even write a name, anything. So you pass these 2 as a parameter. After passing them as a parameter, you don't need to call them as an object. You don't need to write the stack is equal to wet stack. No, you don't need to do this. This is wrong. Is this understood? Why is it wrong? You are trying to, you pass a parameter, then you are creating an instance. This is not what the question says. The question is saying that this parameter will already have been called as an object before it is passed. So you don't do it after it is passed, it is done before it is passed. So you don't have to worry about it. Some students will even write and write that the stack, they will even write the stack is equal to word stack. That is, they want to call it as an object before it is passed. You can see that it's not, the color does not change, it's gray out. So this value you call there as an object handler is not the same as this value. Is this understand? It is not the same. So you are not required to do that. It is a value you will pass that will be an instance. It is not for you to create an instance. That's why the question says take an instance. It never said create an instance. Is this understood? Take an element. It never says create an element. I hope this is well understood. So these two has been passed now. The instance of word stack and element object. Use the push word method of the word stack to what? To push the element onto the stack. So what is the element of the word stack? It is the stack dot. The push method of the word stack is what? Is inside this word stack class, right? Which is the push word, which requires a parameter, isn't it? Which requires a parameter. Then I can write push word, and the parameter to the part is what? Is word, which is the object. Okay, so use the push word method of the word stack instance to push the element onto the stack. So you now pass these elements, and this will be pushed because this will call, it will call this class to access, and the value will be pushed into the what? Into the stack array. I hope this is understood. Now, write program code for process push. That is all. It's just 2 marks. That is all. Okay, good. Question 1E. The function request operation, like I always tell you, check the table to be sure. Request operation, is it part of this table? No. That means you cannot use self as a parameter, okay? Because it is not part of this table. So the function request operation will take an instance of word stack as a parameter to perform push and pop operations. Prompt the user to input whether they want to push a word onto the stack or pop a word from the stack or exit the function. If the user chooses to push, the function will prompt the user to enter a word, create a new element, and then pass both element object and word stack instance to process push. It then returns each array in the data. So it then prints each data in the stack array rather. It then prints each data in the stack array. If the user chooses to pop, the function will call the pop method of the word stack instance, passes as a parameter to return and output the data from the top of the stack. If the stack is empty, output an appropriate message. So these two outputs, no need to return, okay? Continue to prompt the user for input until the user chooses to exit the program. Write program code for request operation to implement the functionality described, which is also 6 marks. So let's do this question. Can you see when I'm about to solve the question, I read through, even if I don't understand fully, the first thing to read through to have an idea. Then while reading again, then I understand it in full. So that is how you need to answer questions, okay? Now, so DEF, the name of the function is request operation. Request operation, okay? Take an instance of word stack as a parameter. So an instance of word stack means an object of word stack. That is what it means. So that does not mean you should write word stack like I said earlier. Okay, now you can just write anything. Let me write anything. So anything is the parameter, and don't forget that anything will be an instance of what? Of word stack. Is this understood? Now, prompt the user to input whether they want to push a word onto a stack or pop a word from the stack. So while I read everything, don't forget, it will continue to do this until what? Exit program, until the user wishes to exit. So it will continue. So because I was able to read through, if I didn't read through, then I will start answering. I wouldn't know that I need to do this first. This continue should be executed first or should be written first before I start writing everything, because continue means everything will continue to what? To function until the user decides to exit. So that means I need a while true statement. So this can be done consecutively so that when the user now exits, then it can break out of this while loop. Is this understood? Okay, good. Prompt the user to input whether they want to push, pop, or exit. Then you write user is equal to input, enter, input, enter, whether, enter push to add value, or pop to retrieve, or exit to cancel. Okay, or exit to cancel. So to make this more suitable, then I can put this in a single quote. Okay, or also put this in a single quote and push in a single quote. So I ask the user to enter push to add a value, okay, or this to this. Okay, now for the input, I can also write dot lower, so that the input will not be case sensitive. Is this understood? Now, okay, I think, okay, now this is now correct, dot lower. Then if user is equal to push, since I wrote lower, then I can always use, I must always compare with a lower case input, okay? If user is equal to push, so that means the user wants to push a word. If the user chooses to push, okay, that means if user is equal to push, the function will prompt the user to enter a word, then enter another word. Then I can say user to is equal to input, enter the word to add to the stack, Okay, enter the word to add to the stack. So if the user chooses to push, the function will prompt the user to enter a word. Create a new element object. So we need an object handler, right? Then I write new, just an object handler, element of user 2. Is this understood? So the new element has been created. And then pass the element object and word stack instance. Don't forget that the word stack instance is anything that is passed as a parameter, right? So then pass both the elements, which is the element we just created now, and word stack instance to what? To process push. That means we need to call process push, okay? So process push is called. Don't forget process push requires two what? Two parameters. So the first parameter is what? Is the word stack instance. And that is what? Anything. And the second one is what? Is an object, isn't it? And what is the object? The object that was just created, new. I hope this is understood. So pass both of them as a parameter. It then prints each data in the stack array. Print each data in the stack array. So to print each data in the stack array, so after everything has been pushed, then you now print everything in the stack array, the data, not the array. There is a difference between the array and the data. The array has objects. The data means you get the data from the object. So before you do that, let's first get the array from the class, okay, or from the object. Don't forget that the object is anything, isn't it? Then we need to save this into an array. So I can write array is equal to, this is an empty array. Then the object array will now be saved in this. And how do you do that? Don't forget that in stack, there is a function getArray that is used to return the stack array. Is this understood? Used to return the getArray, not getArray. Okay, so that means I need to call that function. Then I call the function from this instance anything. Okay, then I write that array is equal to anything dot get array. I hope you understood. So anything is an instance of the class stack, isn't it? According to this question, the parameter passed into this question is an instance of stack. Is that understood? Since it is an instance of stack, that means it can access all the function in class stack. And part of the function in class stack is getArray that returns what? That returns a stack array. And the stack array is an object array, don't forget. So if I write array equals to anything dot getArray has returned a value, which is a stack array, and has been saved in what? In this array. But that value is an object value. Okay. So in printing each of the value, they can write for item in array. So this will take each of the item in array, isn't it? So I want to print each of these items. But before I print each of these items, don't forget that each of the item is an object. But I need to is an object, isn't it? And is an object of type element. Because stack is an object of type element. Then to get a data from this object, then you use the function getData. Is that understood? To get a data from this object element, you use the function getData because this will return the data. So that means that when I write for item in getArray, then I can write that item is equal to item dot getData. Okay, so I've used getData because item is of object type element. And getData is that function in this class element that returns the data value. I hope this is understood. So now that item is present, then I can print item. So with this will print the value, each of the value in the stack array. Okay, so which answers this question. I hope this is understood. So it says that it prints each data in the stack array. So if the user chooses a pop, okay, so that means we have to write that L if user is equal to pop. Okay, if the user chooses a pop, the function will call the pop method of the word stack instance passed as parameter. So the word stack instance passed as parameter is anything, isn't it? That is the word stack instance. That is the object of word stack. So it will now call what? It will call the pop word method. Don't forget that pop word method is in the word stack. Okay, and returns what? It returns a variable. So this is the pop word method. Okay, so the instance is anything, sorry, not equal to dot pop word. So this instance, it has now called the pop word method of this instance. So since it returns a variable, then we can save it into a what? A variable. So anything is the instance where stack instance method passed as parameter. Then to access a function in a class, you use dot name of the function, isn't it? So since pop-out return the variable, then it is saved in what? In var. I hope this is understood. Now, to output the data from the top of the stack, so just output the value that it returns. If the stack is empty, output an appropriate message. Don't forget that pop word can return two value, can return no data or can return a value. So if no data is returned, that means it is empty. Okay, else it is not empty. Then we write if var is equal to no data. That means if no data was returned, isn't it? Then print the stack is empty, cannot pop. Okay, so else, okay, print. So you return the data, isn't it? In a suitable message. Then the data returned is what? var. I hope this is understood. Data returned is var. So if this is pop, it calls the pop word method of the instance passed as parameter. Since this pop-up returns a value, it is saved in this variable. It can return two things, either no data or the value at the top, isn't it? If no data is returned, it prints this. If the value is returned, it prints this. I hope this is understood. Now, the next, output an appropriate message. So this is don't just write print var. You must output an appropriate message. Now, continue to prompt the user. Don't forget, we are still in the while true. So this will continue in the while true. It will continue. Okay. Continue to prompt the user for push or pop. Don't forget, this value, this input is still in the while true, so it will still continue until the user chooses to exit the program. Then we'll write if user is equal to what? Exit. So the user will exit the program when they type exit, because according to the instruction, enter push, pop, or exit, isn't it? Exit, then break. Is this understood? Until the user chooses to exit. So when the word break, when the keyword break is reached, then it gets out of this while loop. I hope this is understood. Okay, good. So that is the end of this request operation. Now the next question. The main program, will create an instance of the word stack. Create an instance of the word stack with the identifier the stack. Now you are creating. In the previous question, we are not creating. We are only taking or passing. Can you see? Take an instance, so you are not creating. Take an instance, you are not creating. I hope you understand that. So, but in this main function, it is now creating an instance of word class with the identifier the stack. So that means you write the stack is equal to word stack. And word stack is a class that requires no parameter. Can you remember? So word stack requires no parameter. So that's why nothing is passed when the instance of the object is created. I hope this is understood. So the stack is now the object handler handling word stack objects. Call read data. When you call read data, don't forget that read data will return an array, isn't it? Will return an array. So that means I must have declared an array to receive this array. Is that understood? Or I must have a variable to receive this array. So that means in calling read data, I must have a variable to receive the value returned. Okay, that means variable is equal to what? Read data. It returns an array. Okay, it returns a list. Can you see? Returns a list according to this description. Okay, good. The next thing in the question is Iterate through the array of element objects returned by read data. And don't forget that read data will return an object what? An object array, not just an array. If you can remember, the read data will read all the line in the file, make it an object of type element and return the array. So this will return an object array of type element. Is that understood? So iterate through the array of elements object return. So we iterate through, so we write for items in variable. So this will iterate through each of the item in this array. I hope this is understood. Call process push. Okay, process push. Now, process push, does it require any parameter? Yes, it requires two parameters, the instance and element. Is this understood? It requires the instance and element, the instance of, so it's now called process push. To push each object of the array, to push each object of the array, which is this item, onto the stack by passing the parameter, the stack. So then you pass the stack parameter and what? And the and the and created earlier by passing the stack instance of parameter created earlier and the object as parameter. What object? The object of the what? The element object of the array, which is items. Is this understood? So these two values are now passed as parameter. So that is the end of the for loop. Then call request operation. Some students are fond of calling the next operation inside this for loop. No. Call the next operation means you are out of this for loop. Is this understood? Then request operation. Okay, request operation. If you look at request operation, let's take, does it require a parameter? Yes, it requires a parameter, which is what? A parameter of the word stack instance. So call request operation, passing the same instance of the stack of word parameter of the word stack created earlier. So that means I have to pass what? The stack created earlier. I hope this is understood. So this is where you now create all these instance of the class, not in each of the function. In each of these function, you just pass the created instance as a parameter. So you don't need to create until you get to the main function. I hope this is well understood. Okay, good. So request operation has been called. So that is all. So save your program. Now, the last question. Okay. Now, test the program with the following sequence of operations. So let's test the program. So you run the program. So it asks, so what is the sequence? Push. Enter the word you want to add to the stack. Hello. Can you see? In the original, what is it called? In the word stack data, in the word, the name of the file is word data. Yeah. So in the word data, we have apple, banana, carrot, dog, elephant. Can you see hello has been added? So this is a stack. The last thing, everything, the last thing here, the last value here, which is this hello, should come out first, isn't it? So can you see that hello has been added? Is that understood? So what is the next thing according to the question? Push again. Push. The word to add is now what? Ismail. Okay, which is my name. It has been added. Can you see? Ismail, hello, elephant. Ismail, hello, elephant. So Ismail and hello has been added. So Ismail is the last element that was added. I hope this is understood. Now the next thing is pop. Pop should output the last value that was added, which is Ismail, isn't it? Now the data return is this. So we need to correct this. When we output pop, it should output the data and not the elements. Can you see? when I wrote pop, it outputs an element and not the data. So let's go back to where we have the pop in our code so that we can correct that. Okay. So I think that should be in request operation. Good. Look at this. And if user equals to pop, variable is equal to anything dot pop word. So the value popped out is an element, is a data type element. Okay, because this is the value from the array. But we are not supposed to print the what? We are not supposed to print the element. Instead, we are supposed to print the data, which is another mistake most students make in the test. So instead of printing data is on its var, we write var.getData. So we use the getData function from the class element because it is this getData that will return the value. So the object parameter is not returned. Is this understood? So let's rerun this program and do that again. So push, hello, push, Ismail. So Ismail is now the last word entered, right? Then let's pop now. Then pop. Can you see the data return is Ismail? So Ismail is popped. Okay. So I think in the question we have pop 3 times, right? So the next pop should return hello. Can you see the next pop has returned hello? Then the next pop should return elephant. The next pop should return elephant. So I hope this is well understood. So the last value that was pushed is Ismail, which is the first that came out, hello, then elephant. And the last thing in the question is what? You are asked to type in exit, isn't it? So exit. So that is all. So I hope this is well understood and you really understood the questions I've solved. If you don't understand what a stack is, please refer to the previous video I uploaded on stack operation. I've explained stack operation in some videos I uploaded earlier. So refer to that video to understand what is a stack and even what is a queue operation and how can you perform operations on a stack array. I hope this is well understood. If you have any question, please don't forget to put it on the comment. And also remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel so that you can enjoy more options.